right. Okay, perfect. This is perfect. Colleagues, it's a pleasure to be with you here today. It's my third time, and organizers, Global Blockchain Business Council, thank you for having me once again here. Now, let me first explain what UN does in this space. To do that, let me first explain my organization, UN Development Program, United Nations Development Program, commonly known as UNDP. Now, back in the days, in early 2000 and even before that, we had a practice called ICT for development. So we were involved with countries in building their ICT infrastructure, and sometimes very rudimentary things like simply creating email addresses for ministers. But that has evolved into more mature digital development. And what happened with COVID was we see this massive acceleration of digital systems, from healthcare systems to education systems for kids. And I've seen all sorts, sometimes without any safeguards at all. But I have seen a lot in many, many countries. But it has been deployed in silos because it was the technology first approach. Okay, let's bring in technology and fix that problem. And that has created many problems down the line. The same health system that people have been using when they need to use something for their social protection system, they need to create yet another ID, give the data again. And for a transportation system, do it again. Then imagine if a local innovator or a local NGO wants to provide healthcare in a certain province, they need to go and collect the data again, because none of these systems were talking to each other. None of these systems were part of a national strategy. None of these systems are built with interoperability in mind. And that is where UNDP comes in. We have a very broad mandate. We work in all of the areas, prosperity to governance to crisis response to a healthy planet. And that is accelerated by the digital work that we do with the gender equality and also financing work that we do in countries. We come in at a layer called DPI. Now, how many of you have heard about the term DPI? Fantastic. So the term digital public infrastructure, DPI, didn't exist before the last G20 under India's presidency. All these underlying systems that is needed to talk to each other, I'm talking about digital legal ID systems, digital payment systems, data exchanges, and most importantly, the policy and regulation layer that is needed for that. That whole ecosystem is called digital public infrastructure, not just the physical infrastructure, but what is needed at the policy and regulation level. Because of UNDP's broad mandate, because we are across many thematic areas, sometimes the request originates from the Ministry of Transportation. Let's do a digital system for transportation. But we are able to tie it to national priorities, bring it all the way up to the highest level of a government, and be that part of a national digital strategy or national AI strategy, which I will come to. So it is not a siloed initiative anymore. And it is done not by the government, with the right partners involved. So it is a partnership really. And this is where we come in as UNDP. We are not a technology agency. We partner with ITU, International Telecommunications Union, on the infrastructure side of it. And there are people like UNICC in the room who would come in with technology. We are at that policy and strategy level. We operate there. Now, UNDP has ground presence. We serve over 190 countries, and we have boots on the ground in over 170 countries. So if you're working in any country, the chances are we are there. So in DPI, what are the challenges that we face? First of all, the mindset shift from applying a technology solution to something to have that holistic approach of building the underlying infrastructure that is needed. Think about this as the electricity system or the railroad system or the roads, right? Now, think about the innovations that followed because you had that infrastructure in place. But here's the thing. You needed that light bulb to show the importance of electricity. So this is a paradox as well. I talk about solutions, but needing to build infrastructure, but also you need the solutions as well. Otherwise, people don't see the value of building the underlying infrastructure. But that mindset needs to be shifted at the very highest level of governments. Then also the funding and financing mechanisms. They were targeted towards building solutions, and which is connected to the third challenge we face, which is the immediate ROI people are looking for. The funding and the financing is targeted because that gives immediate visibility. These solutions brings that immediate visibility, but in order to be really catalytic, some of the funding needs to be rechanneled, financing needs to be rechanneled to build the underlying infrastructure, the digital public infrastructure. And only when you do that, is you get the catalytic impact of your investments or even your solutions that you're deploying. So UNDP has what we call a whole of society approach. I said it's earlier government thinking is we need to innovate. No, you create the enabling ecosystem, build the infrastructure, build people's capacity to understand digital, build the regulatory and the policy frameworks, work with the business ecosystem. And that's when the whole of society approach, as we call it, but put inclusion and people's right at the center of it. Because at the end of the day, it is the people that should see the tangible benefits of what you're doing. Because yes, you will have the short-term ROI of a solution, but the real return on investment here is trust, accountability, and the resilience you build into the underlying infrastructure. Trust is not just a feature in this, it is the operating system on which everything else is built. We work in all the developing countries, and trust in the government, trust in the institutions. This is a common problem, and that is what blockchain can bring. So going into AI, we obviously, I'm not going to talk about the use cases of AI I've seen from AI helping land registries, blockchain-based land registries, to digital ID systems, to identifying patterns when it comes to fraud detection, to helping farmers in remote villages to understand things in their local language. So there are multiple ways AI can help. And also I've seen very innovative financing models as well, where sometimes government comes in to de-risk private sector investments coming into AI as well. So we call it blended financing. But where once again UNDP comes in is having those national AI strategies. We recently opened a center in Rome with Italian G7 presidency to focus in building green computing in countries, focus in connecting local innovators with the global ecosystem, and also building, accelerating local languages, digitization of that, and also building trust and safety frameworks in countries. So a lot of work is happening in this area as well. And if you are in a country somewhere, like I said, if you're working in a country, you can go to UNDP. There will be a digital person or a digital focal point in UNDP that can actually, because we know the country context, we know the local context, we know the right people to talk to, we know the right doors to open for you, and we know the right people to bring to the table. Like I said, this is not something that the government alone can do. If we are to achieve the sustainable development goals, and if technology is accelerating that, if digital can help that, if blockchain is helping that, the only way to do this is through innovative partnerships. And for that, you need everyone at the table, including your beneficiaries as well, because people tend to take ownership of what they help create. Otherwise, it is yet another system coming from the government, which they don't have trust in. So let UNDP help you in that area, because, and sometimes in my personal experience, when we go to a country and convene these different stakeholders, it is the first time, even within the government, two people are talking to each other. You naturally assume, oh, the health ministry and planning ministry, they must be talking. No. Even they don't talk to each other. So bringing these people together, having these innovative partnerships, and thinking about the underlying infrastructure is the only way where we can build sustainable and resilient systems. And that is the only way we can earn the trust of people and let people take the ownership of their systems, because that is where I think the sustainability of blockchain lies as well, which will help us move the needle from just doing pilots in countries to building sustainable digital ecosystems. Thank you very much, everyone.